What's up, fellow fantasy geeks and word nerds? It's me, Bengali, and I'm back with another How to Write video. In this episode, we're talking all about names. We're going to be chatting about how to come up with the perfect name for your fantasy character and also why names are important. So what is in a name? Well, pretty much everything. Now, as we've seen throughout these videos, because we're writing in the fantasy genre, we can do pretty much anything we like. However, I've come up with 3 helpful rules to make sure we don't go too crazy and don't get in the way of the reader's enjoyment of our novels. Rule the first, make sure your character name suits the character and also the world. Some names just suit some people. Have you ever looked at someone and said, "You're not a John, you're more of a Bertram"? If you have a strong character, try and give them a strong name. If you have a weak character, again, you can do the same thing. We can also toy with this and juxtapose it as well and call some absolute troll of a man Tiny. A lot of fantasy novels are rooted in an existing world culture or mythology. Those cultures and histories will have certain naming conventions, styles that come from their language. So if you're working on a book like this and you have a very clear cultural root or mythological root, then you kind of want to make sure that your character names suit this style and therefore makes it recognizable. Rule number 2 is originality. Let's say you're writing a fantasy book and you're really enthused and you've come up with a great character name for this wizard, and that wizard's name is Gandalf. That's been done. That's been done so hard it might actually be a legal issue for you at that point. Fantasy is not a new genre, so basically some names have just been taken. Even if you really want to use them, it's better also from the reader's perspective that you're not confusing them or making them think that you've stolen something and not been original in any way. So if you do come across something that you think might look like you've stolen it, try to change it, twist it ever slightly. That way it's still the name that you kind of want without treading on anyone's toes. Number 3, pronounceability. Let's take this name, for example. This name is not pronounceable without either a bit of thought, some time, research, or being told. Now, people are always going to make up their own minds about your names. I, for example, called Hermione Hermione for about 4 books. Yes, of course, we want to give the illusion of a fantasy world and things are fantastical, but don't make it unnecessarily hard for a reader. One of the exceptions to that is if you've got a joke about how unpronounceable a character's name is, and that gives way to a great nickname. Right now, I'm going to show you a range of different methods that I use to come up with my fantasy names, and also, by extension, some world, place, and even race names. Don't forget, these are all tools and tricks to help your own imagination do the amazing work that it can do. Trick number 1, maps. We literally have an entire world of places and things at our fingertips. And using maps like this, we can just zoom in on a place somewhere Norway, it's a good start. And I simply zoom in and I look around. I look around for names of places and landmarks that I like the look of, that are first off pronounceable and fit with my world. Then to make them original, and obviously not stealing names from places I haven't been to or don't belong to, I will change them or combine them with a couple of other places. I did this all the way through the Emaneska series. For my Norse world, I was using Celtic areas like Ireland and Scotland, Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and places like that. And before you know it, you've got a long list or a bank of names that you can call on or assign to characters. Trick number 2, some characters are named for a characteristic. Great example of that being from Joe Abercrombie's books, Logan Nine Fingers, or The Bloody Nine. 2 names, greedy bastard. He is called Nine Fingers because he's missing one of these. I've done this with multiple books, and actually in the new book I'm writing at the moment, I have a character called Griggan Trillblood. So maybe don't try and come up with a whole new word for a name, but maybe take characteristics and combine them, or look at different synonyms for each characteristic, and again, come up with different variations. Is this fun or what? This is almost as fun as world building, I swear. Google Translate, very easy. What I like to do is put certain words that describe the character into Google Translate and switch through languages of either the cultures I'm writing in or feeding from, or just random other languages that I've never come across and see what comes up. This is also fun for putting little Easter eggs in. You do have to be careful not to call your character something like an insult or an embarrassing word in another language. Make sure you don't accidentally name a character that translates to something like penis face in German. We've all been there. The last technique I'm going to show you is one of my favorites, mainly because it seems fucking ridiculous, and yet it's a perfectly valid technique for coming up with fantasy names for characters, worlds, and whatever you want. I call it the keyboard mashing technique. Patent pending. It is as simple as it sounds. You have a keyboard, an empty Word document, and you simply go, mash the keyboard. Now, what you should have is a stream of what looks like nonsense. And it is, until we start breaking it up. What I do is I go through those little tiny lines of nonsense and I find bits that actually could look like words or misspelled words. I then kind of separate them from the lines of those nonsense. Usually it's all consonants, so we have to put in some vowels here and there, but slowly but surely we start to get things that could look like names. Rinse and repeat. Believe it or not, this is actually how I come up with a lot of my character names. And there we have it. Those are my tips and tricks for coming up with awesome, original, pronounceable character names for your fantasy books. If you've enjoyed this video and the others in my how-to series, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more videos coming soon. In the meantime, check out my website bengali.com for all my information and books, or you can find me on places like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and everywhere else pretty much. I hope you're keeping safe out there, stay well, and keep writing. Catch you all soon. Take it easy.